Hi, my name is Tim Weimer, and I would like to welcome you to this video where you will watch and learn to play snare drum rudiments. This video will allow you to see and hear the proper demonstration of the 26 standard rudiments, which were originally published by the National Association of Rudimental Drumming, referred to as NARD. These rudiments are important for several reasons. First, practicing these rudiments is the key to gaining hand-to-hand coordination and speed. Drummers who play in a school band are required to play rudiments to measure their skills during auditions. Also, concert and marching band music is made up of rudiments, so you must be familiar with them. Rudiments require a lot of practice, and it should take several months to become familiar with the material presented here, so be patient and dedicated. Practice these rudiments on a snare drum or practice pad for at least 15 minutes each day. They are like flowers. They need a little bit of care every day if they are to develop. And remember that repetition is the key. You might choose 3 rudiments each day and practice each one for 5 minutes. It's a small investment that will make a world of difference in your playing. Before you begin to learn about rudiments, it's important that you have a good foundation, so we have included 5 objectives every beginner must master. To set up the snare drum, first assemble the stand. Extend the stand's legs and tighten the adjustment knob. Now insert the top part of the stand and open the arms. Next, seat the snare drum on the stand, being careful not to puncture the bottom head with the arm tips. The snare wires vibrate against the bottom head when the drum is struck. This head is very thin and delicate, so you should never play on it with your sticks. Adjust the arms so that they are snug against the bottom rim. Now make the proper height adjustment so that the drum sits at about waist level. The drum should be horizontal with the floor rather than tilted towards you. This way you won't fight against gravity as you play. Learning to hold the sticks properly is one of the most important parts of drumming. The drumsticks can be held several ways: matched grip or traditional grip. Beginners will find that matched grip is easier to learn, but in the long run, traditional grip may be better for playing rudiments. I recommend that you experiment with both styles to find out which is most comfortable for you. First, let's learn matched grip. Let's begin with the right hand. Grasp your stick about 2 to 3 inches from the butt end. The stick should cross the palm of your hand, and your fingers should curl around the stick. Now place the thumb comfortably to the side of the stick, about even with the first finger. It should look like this. The left hand holds the stick the exact same way. As you play, make sure you keep the top of your hands toward the ceiling, like this, rather than towards the walls. Now traditional grip. While using traditional grip, the right hand continues to hold the stick as it did with matched grip, but the left hand is different. First, make a modified peace sign with your left hand. Now insert the stick between the middle and ring fingers in the pocket of the thumb. You should grasp the stick about 1/3 the length from the butt end. Gently curl the fingers around the stick and close the thumb. Finally, move the stick so that it rests against the upper half of the ring finger. This will provide more stability while moving the stick. Here's how both hands look together using traditional grip. When playing the snare drum, you can use a standing or a sitting position. Either way, they are similar. Here are a few key points. Make sure the snare drum is at about waist level so that you don't have to bend or reach to strike the drum. Also, allow your elbows to rest comfortably at your sides. Your body should feel relaxed. You should use your wrists rather than your arms to move the sticks. Your sticks should form a 60 to 90 degree angle, which makes an arrow that points in front of you. This lets the sticks move more naturally, which will increase your playing speed and maximize your energy. Also, the stick should be almost parallel with the drum head, like this. If it is held too high above the drum, the stick will lose much of its energy as it strikes the drum, and you'll have to work even harder. Remember to let the stick work for you. To get a good sound, strike the drum in the center of the head. If one stick strikes the center of the head and the other strikes the edge of the head, you will hear two different sounds. You may want to draw a quarter-size circle in the center of the head as a target zone. Also, to get a clear sound, make sure you don't keep the stick against the head after the drum is struck, like this. This will cause the note to sound dead. After the drum is struck, the stick should immediately return to the lifted position, like this. Let's talk for a moment about tuning, which is changing the pitch of the drum. The pitch of the drum can be changed by using a drum key to tighten or loosen the tension rods. Turning the rods clockwise tightens the drum head, raising the pitch. Turning the rods counterclockwise loosens the drum head, lowering the pitch. The head on a snare drum should be fairly tight, making the drum sound high-pitched. If there are any wrinkles around the outside edge of the head, the rods need to be tightened more. The most important thing is making sure that the pressure is the same all the way around the drum so that the drum is in tune with itself. You should use a star pattern while tuning to ensure that the pressure is applied evenly around the head. To check the tuning of your drum, turn off the snares and tap the head near each tension rod. Listen for any changes in pitch. If the pitch is lower at a particular rod, turn it clockwise until it matches the pitch of the others. If the pitch is higher, turn it counterclockwise until it matches the others. The bottom head should be tuned to the same pitch as the top head. You should use your finger rather than a stick when tapping the bottom head. The snare strainer adjustment can also be tightened or loosened in order to create more or less snare vibration against the bottom head. After you have mastered these 5 objectives, you are ready to begin learning about rudiments. We will divide the rudiments into 4 categories: the paradiddle group, the flam group, the rough group, and the roll group, in order to make the learning process more logical. We have included a video counter which allows you to quickly locate the rudiment you want to practice. As you move through the rudiments, you will hear an explanation, the rudiment demonstrated slowly, the rudiment played at a faster tempo, and the rudiment played open, closed, open, which means that it is started slowly, gradually gets faster, then is gradually slowed down again. Don't be in a hurry. Stop the video often and take time to practice and play along. Above all, be patient and dedicated. The first rudiment you will learn is called a single paradiddle, number 21 on the NARD rudiment chart. Each single paradiddle is made up of 4 notes, and the sticking is right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. As you play this, it may be helpful to say paradiddle, paradiddle. Just remember that the diddle means right, right, or left, left. It may sound a bit silly, but it works. Now let's add an accent mark. In math, this sign means greater than. In music, it means louder than. The first note of each single paradiddle is accented, or played louder than the other notes. To play an accented note, simply lift the stick several inches higher before striking the drum. Here's what the single paradiddle sounds like with the accents. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. You should practice this until you are comfortable with it, then we will speed it up. The key to playing the single paradiddle faster is to allow the stick to bounce during the diddles, the right, right, and the left, left. The stick is thrust towards the drum once, but strikes the drum twice, like this. Now the single paradiddle played faster. Playing the paradiddle at this speed will take some practice. Here's what the single paradiddle sounds like, played open, closed, open. The double paradiddle, NARD rudiment number 11, is created by adding 2 more notes onto each single paradiddle. The sticking is right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. As you play the double paradiddle, it may be helpful to say para, diddle, para, diddle. Just remember that the diddle means right, right, or left, left. The double paradiddle has an accent mark on each first note. So now, the first note of each set will be louder, which sounds like this. Right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. The key to playing the double paradiddle faster is to allow the diddle, which is the right, right, and the left, left, to bounce. Here's the double paradiddle played faster. Now, the double paradiddle played open, closed, open. The flam is created when a grace note, or a small note, is added to a regular note. When playing a flam, both sticks will strike the drum at almost, but not quite, the same time. One stick should strike the drum slightly before the other, which makes the note sound a little bit fatter. Correct flams sound like this. Notice that when playing a right flam, the left stick actually strikes the drum first. And when playing a left flam, the right stick actually strikes the drum first. Students tend to make several mistakes when learning flams. One mistake is playing the flam too closed, which means that both sticks strike the drum at exactly the same time. This makes the note sound dead. Another common mistake is playing the flam too open, which means that there is too much space between the sticks. This causes the flam to sound like 2 different notes rather than one flammed note. Here are a few tips that will help you to get the timing just right. Begin with the right stick about 3 inches higher than the left. Now lift both sticks about 6 inches, making sure the right is still above the left. Thrust both sticks towards the drum at the same time, making sure the left stick actually strikes the drum first. Immediately after the stick strikes the drum, you should follow through. So now the left stick should be higher than the right. Once again, lift together, thrust downward, and follow through. After a bit of practice, this motion will become more natural and you won't have to think about it. Here's how the flam sounds played faster. Now the flam played open, closed, open. The flam tap is rudiment number 20. It is created by playing a regular tap after each flam. The most difficult part about playing the flam tap is making sure that you are sticking the flam correctly. That is, making sure the left stick strikes the drum first on a right flam, and that the right stick strikes the drum first on a left flam. Let's begin by playing a right flam tap. Notice that the left stick strikes the drum first on the flam. Flam, right. Once again, flam, right. Now a left flam tap. Here, the right stick strikes the drum first on the flam. Flam, left. Once again, flam, left. Here's what they sound like together. Flam, right, flam, left. Flam, right, flam, left. Now a bit faster. Here's the flam tap, played open, closed, open. The paradiddle and the flam are not hard to learn individually, but when combined into the flam paradiddle, rudiment number 6, they become a tricky combination. The flam paradiddle is created when a flam is played as the first note of a single paradiddle, so you might want to review the flam and the single paradiddle before attempting it. Let's begin by playing a right flam paradiddle. Notice that the left stick strikes the drum first on the flam. Flam, left, right, right. Once again, flam, left, right, right. Now the left flam paradiddle. Here, the right stick strikes the drum first on the flam. Flam, right, left, left. Once again, flam, right, left, left. Now let's play them together. Flam, left, right, right, flam, right, left, left. Flam, left, right, right, flam, right, left, left. Now a bit faster. Here is the flam paradiddle, played open, closed, open. Rudiment number 24 is the flam paradiddle diddle. It is sort of an obscure rudiment. Each flam paradiddle diddle consists of 6 notes, the first of which is flammed. Let's start with the right flam paradiddle diddle. Notice that the left stick strikes the drum first on the flam. Flam, left, right, right, left, left. Once again, flam, left, right, right, left, left. Now the left flam paradiddle diddle. Here the right stick will strike the drum first on the flam. Flam, right, left, left, right, right. Once again, flam, right, left, left, right, right. Now let's combine them. Be careful on the flams. Flam, left, right, right, left, left. Flam, right, left, left, right, right. Flam, left, right, right, left, left. Flam, right, left, left, right, right. Here's what the flam paradiddle diddle sounds like a bit faster. Now the flam paradiddle diddle played open, closed, open. The flammecue, which is rudiment number 7, is made up of 5 notes. The first and last notes are flammed, and the second note is accented. Unlike most other rudiments, the flammecue does not alternate, but rather uses the same sticking each time it is played. Let's begin with the basic sticking, which is right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right. Now let's add a flam to the first and last notes. Notice that the left stick strikes the drum first on both flams. Flam, left, right, left, flam. Flam, left, right, left, flam. Finally, we will add an accent to the second note of each flammecue. This accent will be played with the left stick like this. Flam, left, right, left, flam. Flam, left, right, left, flam. Here's the flammecue played at a faster tempo. Now the flammecue played open, closed, open. Rudiment number 5 is the flam accent. If it were not for the flams, the flam accent would be very easy to play. Each flam accent is made up of 3 notes and the sticking is alternated, like this. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. A flam is played on each first note, which makes it a bit trickier. Let's start with the right flam accent. Notice that the left stick strikes the drum first. Flam, left, right. Once again, flam, left, right. Now the left flam accent. Here the right stick strikes the drum first. Flam, right, left. Once again, flam, right, left. Now let's combine them. This rudiment has a strong 6/8 feel, so you may wish to count to 6 as you play. Flam, left, right, flam, right, left. Flam, left, right, flam, right, left. Now the flam accent played faster. Here's the flam accent played open, closed, open. The ruff is rudiment number 8. It is not only a rudiment by itself, but it's also used in many other rudiments, so plan to spend some time on it. The ruff may be thought of as a bounce followed by a single stroke. The most difficult part of playing it is learning to bounce the stick. To get a good bounce, you should thrust the stick toward the drum once, but allow it to strike the drum twice, like this. Beginners will find that this is easier said than done and requires a lot of practice. You will probably find that the stick either will not bounce at all or that it wants to bounce more than twice. Also, left-handed players will have more trouble getting the right stick to bounce, while right-handed players will have more trouble getting the left stick to bounce. Here are a few tips for developing a good bounce. Remember to use your wrists rather than your arms to move the stick. If you use your arms, the stick will not achieve a proper angle with the drum and will not bounce properly. Also, don't try to muscle the stick, just relax and allow the stick to work for you. As the stick strikes the head, apply a bit more pressure until the stick bounces twice, and then allow the stick to return to the lifted position, like this. To play a ruff, you will bounce the right stick twice, then immediately play a single tap with the left, like this. Notice that both sticks move toward the drum at the same time, the right being slightly ahead of the left. Now let's try the left. Immediately after the left stick bounces twice, we will play a single tap with the right stick, like this. Once again, notice that both sticks move toward the drum at the same time. Now let's try alternating roughs, using a right bounce for the first one and a left bounce for the next. Here's the rough played faster. Now the rough played open, closed, open. The single drag, also known as the single drag tap, is rudiment number 9. It is made up of a rough followed by a single accented tap. Let's start with the right single drag. Here the left stick will bounce on the rough. The left stick will also play the accented tap after the rough, like this. Left, left, right, left. Once again, left, left, right, left. Now the left single drag. Here the right stick will bounce on the rough and will also play the accented tap. Right, right, left, right. Again, right, right, left, right. Now let's combine the right and left single drag. Notice how the motion of my sticks sets me up to alternate properly. Right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right. Now the single drag played faster. Here's the single drag played open, closed, open. If you have mastered the single drag, you should not have much trouble with the double drag, which is rudiment number 10. We will simply play 2 roughs instead of 1 before the accented tap. Let's begin with the right double drag. The left stick will bounce during the 2 roughs and will also play the accented tap after the roughs, which sounds like this. Left, left, right, left, left, right, left. Again, left, left, right, left, left, right, left. Now the left double drag. Here the right stick will bounce during the 2 roughs and will also play the accented tap after the roughs. Right, right, left, right, right, left, right. Again, right, right, left, right, right, left, right. Now let's combine the right and left double drags. Left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right. Here's the double drag played a bit faster. Now the double drag played open, closed, open. Rudiment number 25 is known as the lesson 25. The lesson 25 is a unique rudiment because unlike most other rudiments, it does not alternate, but rather uses the same sticking during each repetition. The Lesson 25 is not difficult to play slowly. The sticking is left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right. The final right of each set being accented, which sounds like this. Left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right. As it gets faster, the Lesson 25 becomes more challenging because the left, left, right combination becomes a rough. Let's forget the accent for a moment and get the basic sticking. Now let's add the accent. Here's the Lesson 25 played open, closed, open. The drag paradiddle number 1 is rudiment number 22. It may be thought of as a tap followed by a bounce followed by a paradiddle. Let's begin by playing it slowly. Here the rough will be played as 16th notes. Notice that the first note is accented. Right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. As you play the drag paradiddle number 1 faster, you must allow the 2 notes following the tap to become bounces, like this. Here's how it sounds played open, closed, open. The drag paradiddle number 2, which is rudiment number 23, is created by adding one more rough onto each drag paradiddle number 1. Let's begin by playing it slowly. The roughs will be played as 16th notes, and notice that the first note of each set is accented. The sticking is right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. As it becomes faster, the rough must begin to bounce, like this. Now the drag paradiddle number 2, played open, closed, open. Rudiment number 12 is the single Ratamaqueue. It may be thought of as a rough followed by a triplet rhythm. Let's begin by learning the basic rhythm. As you play this rhythm, it may be helpful to think Ratamaqueue, Ratamaqueue. The sticking is simply alternating rights and lefts with an accent on the last note of each set, like this. Right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right. Now let's add the rough. First, let's try the right Ratamaqueue. The left stick will bounce on the rough. Left, left, right, left, right, left. Again. Left, left, right, left, right, left. Now the left Ratamaqueue. Here the right stick will bounce on the rough. Right, right, left, right, left, right. Again. right, right, left, right, left, right. Now we will combine the left and right rhythmic cues. Here's the single rhythmic cue a bit faster. Now the single rhythmic cue played open, closed, open. The double rhythmic cue is rudiment number 26. It is created by adding one more rough onto each single rhythmic cue. Let's begin with the right double rhythmic cue. The left stick will bounce on the roughs like this. Left, left, right, left, right, left. Once again. Left, right, left, right, left. Now let's try the left double rhythmic cue. Here the right stick will bounce on the roughs like this. Right, right, left, right, left, right. Once again, right, left, left, right. Now let's combine them and alternate. Left, right, left, right, left. Right, left, right, left, left, right. Left, right, left, left. Right, left, left, right. Here's how it sounds played faster. Now the double rhythmic cue played open, closed, open. If you have mastered the single and double rhythmic cue, you should have little trouble with the triple rhythmic cue, which is rudiment number 13. It is created by adding one more rough onto the double rhythmic cue. Let's begin with the right triple rhythmic cue. The left stick will bounce on the roughs, like this. Left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Again, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Now the left triple rhythmic cue. Here the right stick will bounce on the roughs. Right, left, left, right, left. Again, right, left, 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 right. Now let's try alternating the right and left triple rhythmic cue. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Right, left, 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 right. Here's the triple rhythmic cue at a faster tempo. Now the triple rhythmic cue played open, closed, open. The single stroke roll is rudiment number 14. By definition, rolls are made up of bounces, which makes the single stroke roll a bit odd as a member of the roll family, because it is made up of single strokes which are played quickly. When played slowly, the single stroke roll is perhaps one of the easiest rudiments, since it is just alternating rights and lefts, like this. Right, left, left, left. When played quickly, however, the single stroke roll is difficult to play steadily and evenly. The key to playing it quickly is to keep the sticks very close to the head. The stick height should not exceed 2 inches. Here's how the single stroke roll sounds faster. Now the single stroke roll, played open, closed, open. The long roll, which is rudiment number 1, is perhaps one of the most important rudiments and one of the most difficult to play correctly. Plan to spend a good deal of time developing your long roll. This rudiment is not difficult to play at a slow tempo, being simply 2 notes with each stick, like this. Right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. At this speed, we are playing single strokes and the stick does not need to bounce. But as the roll becomes faster, the sticks must begin to bounce, which is easier said than done. You should begin by practicing 2 bounces on each stick, like this. Now make the basic motion of the sticks faster so that there are no gaps between the right bounces and the left bounces, like this. At its most closed point, the long roll becomes what is called a buzz roll. The key to playing a buzz roll is to keep the sticks very close to the head and to keep the motion of the sticks fast. Don't try to muscle the stick, just relax and allow the sticks to bounce, like this. Playing the long roll open, closed, open takes a good deal of time. The most difficult part is playing the transition from single strokes into the bounce and then from the bounce back to the single strokes. This transition must be so smooth that a listener is not quite sure when it has occurred. The components of the long roll played open, closed, open are single strokes into an open bounce, into a buzz roll, back to an open bounce, back to single strokes. The whole process sounds like this. Rudiment number 2 is the 5-stroke roll. As its name implies, the 5-stroke roll is made up of 5 notes. And unlike the long roll, the 5-stroke roll has a starting point and an ending point, rather than being one continuous roll. The basic sticking is right, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, left. The final note of each set being accented, which sounds like this. Right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left. Right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left. As you play the 5-stroke roll faster, it becomes necessary to bounce the sticks and to think more about the basic strokes, each time the stick moves towards the drum being a basic stroke. The 5-stroke roll has 3 basic strokes, meaning that the sticks move towards the drum 3 times. We can count these basic strokes: 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and. Now we will add a diddle, which looks like a slash mark, to the first 2 notes of each set. A diddle is a bounce, so during the first 2 basic strokes we will allow the sticks to bounce, while the third note remains a single tap. Here's how it sounds when leading with the right stick. Again. You may wish to think bounce, bounce, tap as you play this. Now leading with the left stick. Again. Now let's alternate them. Now the 5-stroke roll, played open, closed, open. The 7-stroke roll is rudiment number 3. It is made up of 7 notes. Because each set begins with the left stick and ends with the right, alternating would be very difficult. Therefore, the 7-stroke roll does not alternate. It always begins with the left stick. Let's take a look at it slowly. The sticking is left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left, left, right. And notice that the last note is accented. As with any roll, as you play it faster, you must allow the sticks to bounce, and you must also think about the basic strokes. The 7-stroke roll has 4 basic strokes, which we can think of as 16th notes, counted 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and Now let's add diddles to the first 3 basic strokes, which means that the sticks will bounce. The 4th stroke will remain a single tap. It sounds like this. Here's how the 7-stroke roll sounds played very closed. Now the 7-stroke roll played open, closed, open. Rudiment number 15 is the 9-stroke roll. It is made up of 9 notes, the last of which is accented. The 9-stroke roll does alternate, beginning with the right stick the first time and a left stick the next. Let's begin by playing it slowly. The sticking is right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left. Right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left. As you play it faster, your sticks must begin to bounce. Also, you must think about basic strokes. The 9-stroke roll has 5 basic strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's add diddles to the first 4 basic strokes, which means that they will bounce. The last note will continue to be a single tap. First, let's try leading with the right, which sounds like this. Now let's try leading with the left. Now let's alternate, leading with the right for the first one and the left on the next. Here's how the 9-stroke roll sounds played very closed. Now the 9-stroke roll played open, closed, open. The 10-stroke roll, which is rudiment number 16, is an obscure rudiment that is not often used in songs or solos. Still, you may be expected to play it during an audition. It does not alternate and is characterized by 2 single strokes on the end of each set, rather than 1 like other rolls. Let's begin by playing it slowly. The sticking is left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, right. As the roll becomes faster and the sticks begin to bounce, you must think about basic strokes. The 10-stroke roll has 6 basic strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we will add diddles to the first 4 notes of each set. The last 2 notes will continue to be single taps, which sounds like this. Here's the 10-stroke roll played very closed. Now the 10-stroke roll played open, closed, open. The 11-stroke roll is rudiment number 17. It is similar to the 10-stroke roll, except that it does not have 2 single strokes at the end of each set. Like the 10-stroke roll, the 11-stroke roll does not alternate. Let's begin by playing it slowly. The sticking is left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Like the 10-stroke roll, the 11-stroke roll has 6 basic strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we will add diddles to the first 5 basic strokes. The last note will continue to be a single tap, which sounds like this. Here's the 11-stroke roll played very closed. Now the 11-stroke roll played open, closed, open. The 13-stroke roll, which is rudiment number 18, does alternate. The first one leads with the right, the next leads with the left. Let's begin by playing it slowly. The sticking is right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left. As it gets faster and the sticks begin to bounce, you must think about basic strokes. The 13-stroke roll has 7 basic strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we will add diddles to the first 6 basic strokes. The last note will continue to be played as a single tap. Let's begin by leading with the right. Again. Now let's try leading with the left. Once again. Now let's alternate. Here's how the 13-stroke roll sounds played closed. Now the 13-stroke roll played open, closed, open. Rudiment number 19 is the 15-stroke roll. The 15-stroke roll does not alternate. It always begins with a left stick. Here's how the 15-stroke roll sounds played slowly. The sticking is left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. As you get faster, you must begin to think about basic strokes. The 15-stroke roll has 8 basic strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we will add diddles to the first 7 notes of each set. The last note will continue to be played as a single tap, which sounds like this. Here's how the 15-stroke roll sounds played very closed. Now the 15-stroke roll played open, closed, open.